Okay, folks, so let's go ahead and get to our caller for the evening. You could introduce yourself, tell people who you are and where you're from. We'll get started like that.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Valente Fanning. I'm originally from Washington, Georgia, but I have been living in Brooklyn, New York for 11 years on and off. And I'm the founder and owner of V Management New York, located in Brooklyn, New York, where we scout, develop, and book fashion models. And I've been doing that for 10 years, and I'm just really excited to see where life takes me.
This is kind of incredible. When you've been in Brooklyn for 11 years, and I'm just looking at your sheet that you filled out to come on the show. And one of the things that we've been talking about is generational trauma, and we've been talking about self-worth.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, a lot of times the most successful among us are the ones who are dealing with a certain level of worth,
Mhm.
self-worth issues. And so one of the things that I saw from you was, that on your sheet there was the checkbox for generational trauma and the checkbox for self-worth.
Mhm.
And those things, with you being in Brooklyn, with you growing up in the era of time that you grew up, can you give us a sense of what that means, of what that struggle has been like for you? When you bring up the idea of self-worth, what does that call out in you? What's it make you think of and respond to, such that you would want to even have a conversation about it today?
It makes me think of my highest form of expression. That's
Mm.
something that I always pray for every day. Um, I grew up being conditioned to feel small and to feel humble. Like it was such a very, very big push for me to be humble for some reason. Even though I was quite introverted and quite shy and growing up, there was such a very, very big push for me to be humbled for some apparent reason. And
What what did that look like when what were the things that people said to you, and when would they say it? I want to start in childhood. I want to start there because
Mhm.
you're right. You're saying for some reason there's a push to say, hey, listen, don't stand out too much. Don't, we don't need you to be too friendly. We don't need you to be too gregarious. We don't need you. I'm just telling you what I've heard people say to me. So I'm wondering
Yes.
what they say to you.
Exactly. The same sentiments of oh, don't be doing too much and oh, you too hyper. That was a lot of things because I was born with certain gifts, and I would exercise them because I would think that anybody else can do it, but it was such a very concerted effort in that matter once that was discovered to humble and make me feel small. You know what I mean? In more ways than one, and so growing up, that kind of affected my self worth because I would get reprimanded, and how I get reprimanded was through verbal abuse, like you anorexic, because I was very, very skinny. You
Mm-hmm.
anorexic, you black and ugly, and stuff like that. And this is not coming from outsiders. This is actually happening in my home. From a parental figure. And so when this is an authoritative figure and a parental figure that is telling you this, it can really have effect on your self-worth. And especially if this is something that has been taking place consistently for quite some time, it's kind of like embedded in you, kind of conditioned in you. And so, even though I would have other people telling me otherwise, that's how I felt. I could literally get compliments every day. But the fact that I had that programming and I had that conditioning over time, growing up, it kind of stayed.
What was it? What do you think it was in them that made them feel like, hey, listen, he's doing the most. I don't want him to, what were do you feel like it was a protective mechanism that they were trying to maybe stunt your ambitions so that you wouldn't put yourself out into a situation where they felt you might be hurt? Or do you think that it was a reflection of somebody else's own inner
Yes, it was
trauma?
a mixture of fear of like their projection because when I was young, I was ready. I was ready. I was ready for show business. I was ready for entertainment. My mom didn't have to do much. I was just ready. I just had that natural inclination in me. I mean, if that's the right word I'm looking for. I was ready. You know what I mean? And I like to actually the power of my manifestation is crazy because I was actually looking for you because I didn't see you post. I will usually see your YouTube posts. But I actually went to search her name on my email address. I said, well, what Dr. Shawn is up to these days? Because I haven't seen you on YouTube. And then you sent the link or you sent me the notification about this show. And I'm just like, wow, the power of my manifestation. And the last time we had a conversation, you spoke to me about a term I really love and that I like to use, supreme awareness.
Mm.
I was all the way in my supreme awareness when I was younger. Like I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly what I came here for. I was ready for it. But it was once again, it was such a very concerted effort to diminish me and make me small.
You've brought up a couple of things that are giving me goosebumps right now, which is that you remember what that supreme awareness is, and when you speak, because our last conversation, which was in the I think one of the master classes, you know, I remember I remember talking about that, but now when I hear you say the words, I'm like, oh, there's been a deepening that's happened, right? Just with you saying those words, I'm like, okay, I can feel that you've been just reflecting, but also deepening in this understanding. And so much so that you can recognize when you were in alignment. You know that the children come through, babies come through with an understanding of God energy. They come through with that divine energy. In fact, there are entire African traditions of spirituality that say that the babies are just our ancestors returned, right? So imagine your child is really your grandparent returned back, and they still have all of the wisdom of all of these years. They're still dripping in God energy, divine energy. And when we interfere based on our own fears that we've picked up along the way, that can interrupt that frequency that you can see in every child. And what I hear you saying you remember the sound of that frequency. I'm hearing you say that you remember that when you were a child, you were in that supreme awareness, and there was a great sense of I am. There was no, it's not superiority. It's not a, oh, I'm better than somebody else. It's I am. You know you were talented. You could feel it without somebody even telling you. You could feel it. You could feel it. So tell me, at what point does that feeling, that divine signature that God placed in you, tell me at what point that starts to get overlooked? You begin to turn toward what other people are saying and start believing in what they're saying. Right? They're telling the child that, hey, why don't you just calm that down a little bit too? Why don't you just not too much? Why don't you? They're telling you to act and be a certain way. And I'm wondering how that showed up for you, how that habit of making yourself small showed up for you when it came time to be an adult and be a bold adult.
Because I made myself small because, you know, in fashion, you got to be an intern. Because, you know, I didn't just own an agency. I really started at the bottom. I actually started off as a model. I got scouted as a model first in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yes, I had a mother agent. A mother agent is the first contact that you meet to introduce you to the modeling industry. So I had a mother agent that scouted me in Atlanta and everything. But during that time, Dr. Shawn, they wasn't booking models of color. There wasn't.
Word.
Yes, it will always it will be either one token model, black model per year to represent the whole black, you know, population.
Right.
Because I would go to castings and they would have a sign on the door, no black models, you know, and that's just what it is. And I would literally go to castings and they say no black models on there. During that phase, a lot of people are really down on you, hard on you, and really beating down on your self worth and your self confidence.
What's so interesting is that your childhood, where people are telling you to be small, people are saying, hey, look, why don't you go ahead and step back? Why don't you go ahead and kind of shorten and diminish your light, dim your light a bit? What's so fascinating is that that childhood trauma gets mirrored in adulthood when you're seeing the signs that say, hey, listen, no black models. We don't have a need for you, right? Whatever light you do have, we've dimmed it so low that there will be one person out of thousands working this year. We do not need your light. And so when you encounter that, what I'm suggesting for you is that when we talk about alchemy, let me show you how wonderful you are, which is that's multi-year trauma. You get what I'm saying? The fact is that you're having something being presented to you in childhood, and then you're having it reflected to you in adulthood when you're in pursuit of your dreams. And so what the impact of that is that if that were the first time, them just saying, oh, no black models, and that was the first time that anyone had ever put some resistance in front of you, you might be able to step up over that, whatever. But the fact is that that moment reinforced all of the moments that came before, right? It reinforced all of the moments that came before where someone's saying, we don't really want you to be put out there. Frankly, we don't really want to see you, right? We don't want to see you. And so when that happens, that's a long way to go in terms of trying to heal. I think a lot of times we think that it's just the situation, the one little thing. I can hear people at home thinking, oh, okay, well, he had to go through the hard knocks like everybody else did. But it's like, no. Because we're not just talking about one incident. We're talking about a string of incidences that existed since childhood. And that leaves a residue of trauma that you can't just wipe clean just by wishing it away or trying to cross your fingers.
I gotta speak on that.
Absolutely.
You are absolutely right. Because I want to say I got back to New York 2 months ago, but I was in Washington, Wilkes, Georgia, where I'm originally from. For like a year and a half, I was learning local government. I was being involved in local organizations, but I also was healing my inner child. That's why I was really there. But I couldn't tell people that. You get what I'm saying? People down there, they won't understand. Oh yeah, I'm healing my inner child. They don't understand anything. They'll look at you like you're crazy. So I was mainly covering up by being involved in like local government, really learning about running the city and stuff like that. They really wanted me to be city council, but I couldn't. Because I knew I wanted to come back to New York, but I spent that time healing my inner child because by that time I'm 34. I'm trying to make sure that I expand in life, in my ascended master journey, and really find myself as an ascended master and what that looks like and what that feels like. So I would spend a lot of time meditation. I would go into the forest and I would just forest bathe and I would meditate, just really letting go of all of that trauma that has been strung along. And then I also had realized while I was doing my inner child healing in Georgia that I really neglected my inner child because you know that inner child had dreams and stuff, but I neglected it, and just out of fear and not wanting to go through certain trauma. But to your point earlier, it was a series of events that was actually that inner child revealed to me was very organized and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Orchestrated in a sense, very intentional. And my inner child, I was just amazed at what he was revealing to me, what happened and what I need to do. And again, Dr. Shawn, that's part of my alchemizing work. I wanted to alchemize that particular situation that he went through.
Knowing especially that there's somebody else going through or about to go through the same thing. What's one thing that you want to let go of today, but you just can't yet?
This spiritual amnesia.
Oh, okay. Say that one more time. You say
This spiritual amnesia. I feel like I'm
spiritual.
almost, spiritual amnesia of who I really am. I know that my life and what I've experienced, um, it's a false identity. I'm playing a role, and it was designed to be that way, through amnesia.
And that spiritual amnesia, when I hear you say that, ooh, I know everybody feels that one, because what I'm hearing you say is you know who you are, and there are these moments of clear judgment. I understand who I am. I understand my purpose. I understand what I am to do, and I'm able to act from my strong side. And then all of a sudden, life happens as it does. And now all of a sudden, there's kind of this the I know who I am thing goes out the window. Is what I'm saying? Now is let me deal with this problem right quick. Maybe it's making payroll, or maybe it's whatever. Do you run a business, so you understand however many complications can come up through that thing. Like all of a sudden, the truth that you know is nowhere to be found. And in those moments, that's when we get to asking God, why, how come, you know what I'm saying? That's when we get to, and I'm saying for myself too, that's when we get to going off and onto different tangents when really we're only being asked to remember who we actually are. And so to that point, I have a gift for you today, because I think the thing that I hear the most from people is, hey, listen, I am now stepping into my ascendant mastery season. The problem is that my highs are really wonderful, but my lows feel like I completely forget everything that I just learned in at the high point. I completely forget all of the things. I have this sort of spiritual amnesia, this forgetting process that happens. And that's the thing that I want to close out with, because there's a few threads that I'm going to kind of weave here. And the thing is this, we've you were just talking about this inner child that has shown up to be your hero. It's yourself, but it has shown up to be your hero in dialogue with this inner child. And so what we're going to do is a kit that I'm is actually just coming out right now. I've never done this one before, but the idea is that as I'm hearing you speak, I'm thinking two things. One, spiritual amnesia. What happens when we do all of the inner work, which has come up in this conversation between you and I? What happens when we do all of the inner work and still we have our moments of forgetting? Number two, coming back to this notion of forgiveness, you understand that they wanted to stifle that inner child, but by entering into dialogue with that inner child, we get to this number three stage, which is the inner child has shown up for you. Now, in this kit, I want you to show up for it. And so, what we're
Ooh.
going to do right now
Go ahead,
is
Dr. Shawn. I like that.
what we're going to do right now is just close your eyes. And right now, I want you to focus on the energy of love, that feeling that wells up in your heart when you think of how God feels about you. His perfect creation, flaws and all, summon that energy of love right to your heart. And as you do, I want you to raise your hands right to the middle of your chest as if you were going to be holding a ball in between your hands. That feeling of love, go ahead and watch it form a white ball of light moving out of your chest and right into the middle of your hands. Feel that love, light circulating like a rotating ball of white light in between your hands. There's so much love here. And now, in your mind's eye, see that young child. Look back through time, whatever he may be doing right now. Maybe he's watching television. Maybe he's having his favorite snack.
No, I'm seeing what he's doing.
Go
He's running
into
around with this ball that you showing me, and it's pretty too. I like it. Keep going. He running around with it. I like that.
beautiful. Just see his face, and you know all of the potential that God placed inside of him. And so, what I want you to do right now is, though he's already got the ball, I want you to see this white ball of love light enter into his chest, right into his heart, and flash brilliantly in all white light. His eyes have a sparkle behind them like never before. See that ball of love light enter into his chest, into his heart now, and watch how he responds.
And that's why I started laughing.
Because this white ball of love light has entered his chest. This young child, which is you, he's so full of love now. And he's saying thank you. And I just want you to look at him in his eyes and repeat after me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
And I'm so proud.
And I'm very proud of you.
And I'm so proud of who you've allowed me to become.
And I'm so proud of who you allowed me to become.
Excellent. And just there, he says, thank you.
Thank you.
Notice that this love energy that you've now placed inside of this little child is also still now somehow back with you. And notice that where this love light is, there can be no depression. feels too good. And notice that if you can just remember this love that you've placed into this young child, which means the love that's already within you, that is true self-remembering. In which case, amnesia is impossible because you are remembering the truth of you. In this moment, just bask in that love that you feel inside of your own chest and say thank you.
Thank you.
I am so grateful for who I've become.
For who I've become.
Beautiful. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.
Oh wow. It feels nice, like right here.
You say it feels nice right here?
It feels nice right here, yeah.
That is who you really are. And
Wow.
so remember just that.
Mm.
Anytime it feels like, oh man, the world is falling apart or whatever, being able to come back to this love, the beauty of it is that First John 4:16 says that God is love, and whosoever abides in love abides with God, and therefore what we are touching today, what we are touching today is our unity with the divine. We just so happen to call it love. So yeah, it's gonna feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. It don't ever stop feeling good because God is good
All the time.
and all the time.
God is good. You said that
Absolutely.
right.
Valente, I just want to thank you for coming on the show
Thank you for having me,
and
brother.
and thank you for just for sharing, for having that vulnerability. And my wish for you is that you will return back to that feeling, to that love feeling. You know you have it because you put it in yourself back through time, so such that you've had it all along now.
He was
Right?
so overjoyed. He was really jumping. Like I saw, which was crazy. I really saw that. He was jumping on the trampoline and he had his arms up and he was literally, like you said, kind of like glowing a little bit. And he was very excited. So I don't know what's happening or what kind of shift, but I'm excited to see what's to come of this. The after effects of that.
Me too. Me too. And so if you've received it, I just want to say thank you for coming on. And I want to say have a blessed day. And my God, just keep abiding in
Yeah.
that. Because that joy that the little one is experiencing while he's hanging and singing and dancing, it's eternal.
Mm. Okay.
So I'm gonna
I
say
believe
thank
it.
you so much, man.
All right. I appreciate you, Dr. Shawn.
Absolutely, Valente.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Okay. Okay. Shout out to Valente. Shout out to Valente. You know, folks, very, very, very proud of Valente, very, very proud of anyone who is willing to come on this show and be vulnerable. And I must say, if you do like what you are experiencing on the Breakthrough Live, go ahead and leave a like and share this video, this live with anyone who may need it. I think that one of the big ways that we can continue to have this expansion of light, because once you're on the Breakthrough Live and you come through like Valente just came through, being authentic, being vulnerable, opening yourself up for a breakthrough, you start to experience things and you don't have to even make sense of it all tonight. But in the coming nights, more will be revealed, even when you're not on live anymore. The breakthroughs that happen here carry over. And so when we can share that experience with other people in our lives, in our communities, just by sharing a video, that's the real purpose of this show. That's the real reason that I wanted to make sure that we had something like this, is so that our own healing can be a guide for others, that our own vulnerability can serve others.